This is the Green Room. I'm Katelyn Mattson. Lynne Davis is the Distinguished Professor of Organ at Wichita State University and performs around the world playing the organ, quite literally around the world. In fact, if you're not here, you're probably in Paris. Isn't that the truth?
Quite right. Thank you for having me, Caitlin. It's a joy as always.
So we're in for a treat. You coordinate and plan out the Rie Bloomfield Organ series with guest artists who come in and play on the organ and give a master class and speak with students. But the treat this time around is that you are featured in the next Rie Bloomfield Organ recital,
That's right. I've invited myself, which
as
is
you
great.
should.
Yeah. Well, my director gave me that idea, and I followed it. So it's a great joy for me to be able to participate wholly in this series that's gone on for 31 years. This is the 31st season of this series. Founded by my predecessor and Rie Bloomfield herself. So this is the third recital in the 24-25 series, and I'll be playing a very varied program, which will be of interest to everybody.
This is next Tuesday, February the 18th.
Yes, at 7:30 p.m. Tickets can be got at the Wichita Fine Arts box office or at the door in the lobby of Wiedemann Hall on campus. And I have to say about the program. I'll be doing some early French organ music, two different pieces, but from two different eras that this Marcuson organ does really, really well. One is by Marchand, and the other is by Balbastre. But Balbastre was among the revolutionaries, and he had to save the organ of, I believe, Notre Dame. And so he wrote a piece to appease the revolutionaries so they wouldn't trash the organ and take it down. And this is the one I'll be playing in the second half of my program. It just lends itself to a little bit of humor.
Oh, I love this story. Gosh, music is inherently political because it's always making some sort of a statement to somebody somewhere, or it's just about pure beauty and love for beauty's sake. And I think that in and of itself can be political.
And if there's no real story attached to the piece, then the person listening can make up their own. If it's
Mm.
something beautiful, their subconscious or their mind will invent something to go along with it, and that's really good. Make up your own
Yes.
story as you're listening.
Yes, and you can take from it whatever you need to take from it that day.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You you mentioned that this organ does this early French music well. Those of us who don't play the organ or we're not familiar with why that would be, can you explain that to us? Why does this organ lend itself well to that time period and that particular genre of music?
Well, it lends itself to other periods as well, but that period of early French organ music, the organs were especially furnished in reeds like the reed section of an orchestra, and mutation stops that provide a very specific sound, and these all these pieces have specific recipes
Mm.
to go with a specific movement. And that's what they'll hear in the beginning piece by Marchand and then the little Balbastre piece as well. So it's a lot of reeds. It's forceful. It's not at all like Bach. It's not at all like romantic music, and but which the organ does as well, very well, and which they'll hear in the Franck and in other pieces on the program.
What else is on the program? I read somewhere you have, things that we might expect when we go to an organ recital. We're going to hear some Bach.
Yes, the big prelude and fugue in C minor, which is fantastic work, showing a lot of strength, a lot of counterpoint to to this piece, and also shows off the organ very well.
We're going to take a short break and we're going to listen to some Duraflay, which wrote several pieces for the organ. And this is not specifically what Lynne Davis will be performing, but we're going to listen to a little bit of a piece performed by organist John Scott. I'll be back to talk more with Lynne Davis about the Rie Bloomfield Organ series. This is the Green Room. I'm Katelyn Mattson. I'm joined by Lynne Davis, Distinguished Professor of Organ, and the coordinator, director of the Rie Bloomfield Organ Series. She is featured on the next Rie Bloomfield Organ Series recital, which is next Tuesday, February the 18th. Lynne, I'm always so astounded by the organ. I'm, as so many of us are, unfamiliar with the vast array of organ literature. If I didn't hear it, for instance, if I didn't hear it in the church that I grew up in, or the church gig that I had when I was, a student at the conservatory, chances are I'm not familiar with it, and I don't think I'm alone. So these recitals are definitely an opportunity for people who have an interest in the sound of the organ to come and hear what an organ can really do in all the different ways, in all the different sounds that it can make.
Absolutely. It's when you think of it, it's the biggest wind instrument in the world, with over 600 years of repertoire of organ literature. So it's perfectly normal that people don't really know what the literature is. But with such venues as Wiedemann Hall and the Great Markussen in it, it's a perfect location and venue for such discoveries. And that's why I'm sure Rie Bloomfield originally wanted to have this series and endow the series for the public's discovery. And this is what I've tried to do over the years, the last 18 years I've been at Wichita State, is to bring this organ literature to everybody. And there really is something for everyone. It's no longer linked just to the church. There's so many
Right.
concert halls that have organs in them.
Yes. And there's also an opportunity for the audience to learn a little bit more. You oftentimes have conversations with the artists before they or after they perform. Before they perform?
It's usually after the intermission, after
Ah,
the
wonderful.
staff, and the intermission. I usually have it's an onstage interview with the artist so that the public can get to know them a little bit more personally, rather than just through their performance of the music. This time, there's only me, so I'm going to have a conversation with the audience. I haven't figured out how I'll get the microphones out there, but I'll have some questions for the audience, and then perhaps the audience will have some questions for me. And we'll take 10 minutes or so after the intermission before the second half, and they can tell the story about the little Balbastra piece in France at the Revolution time, and other things about the program. And the audience can share what they're thinking and for the future what they'd like to hear.
I think that's so wonderful. I have a question, if I could pretend to be an audience member.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose I am the one asking the questions. This
Yeah.
is personally what I'm very curious about. Again, we're all familiar with organ as a sacred instrument, as one that was heard in the churches. However, it also has this other history, um, a theater organ, vaudeville, very much secular. Can you tell if there is much of a difference between maybe the type of organ, a theater organ, versus like the Markussen that you play on, or is it the same instrument just utilized in different ways?
Well, it's like having two different bicycles. One is, or maybe a mobilette. It's the same principle, but the outcome is very different. The theater organ is really quite modern, but I would say that it joins up with the very first use of the organ, which was admittedly smaller in ancient times, which was not sacred at all, which was used for entertainment. You all remember the tapestries with the lady in flowing robes playing a little portative organ. The theater organ is entertainment, and if you remember in the 20s, people didn't have televisions or anything. They had to go to auditoriums, and you've got these massive 4,000 or more seat auditoriums, and those organs played by themselves or they accompanied silent films. But they've got a different set of pipes, different sounds,
Mhm.
lots more strings. That's not what they call them, but just
Yeah.
to compare with the classical pipe organ. And
And
yeah,
and the organs that were once found in these grand department stores.
well, that was part of the same era. Or
Mm.
imagine shopping around and you didn't shop online because there was no online, no internet, and
Shopping was an experience.
yeah, you'd have
Yeah.
this huge organ playing to accompany your shopping around the grand store. So, admittedly, that's not no longer the case, as we can see with Macy's being sold in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I just think it's so fascinating. Again, fascinating because it's something I still know so little about. I learn so much every time you come on to share your wisdom about the organ and the repertoire. And we really urge anybody that has the least curiosity about the instrument, go attend one of the Rie Bloomfield Organ Series concerts or one of her Wednesdays in Wiedemann concerts.
Uh, there is also this event will be live streamed, as are all the distinguished guest artist concerts. So you can access it through the WSU School of Music YouTube channel. Also, the 60 or some videos on the WSU TV organ series video of Wiedemann Hall and me, was his Wiedemann.
Next Tuesday, February the 18th, Lynne Davis performs in Wiedemann Hall. It starts at 7:30,
7:30.
and tickets can be purchased in advance or at the door.
That's right, in advance at the WSU College of Fine Arts box office or at the door. And my CD recorded in Wiedemann Hall will be for purchase at that time as well. Easiest place to get it.
Yeah, have a wonderful recital. Thank you for being here and telling us all about it and expanding our minds a little bit.
Thank you, Caitlin, very much.
Anytime.